What's up, guys? It's Force Death back here for another Manga Collection video. Happy New Year, everybody. You know what that means? New year, new collection video. So let's get right into it. Over here with this shelf, we have right off the bat a pretty heavy hitter, Chainsaw Man. This is all that is available in the US right now. This is all part 1 of Chainsaw Man, the public safety arc. I'm keeping up with part 2 online, which I'm really liking. There's no announcement yet for volume 12 to be published yet, but I think it's inevitable with the anime just finishing and it being super popular. Like, it's gonna come. I really like this series. This is easily jumped up in like my top 10 favorite manga series ever made. The characters are awesome. It's so crazy, and the amount of like layers that Fujimoto adds in this story, it's just insane. I highly would recommend Chainsaw Man. Then we have my holy grail of my manga collection, High School of the Dead, volumes 1 to 7 complete. The author died, unfortunately, before he could finish the series, so the series remained unfinished, but I have all of the single volumes in print physically on this shelf right here. It's the holy grail because I see full sets of this go online for outrageous prices, so I'm glad I got all these volumes for the price that I did. Next over here we have the quintessential quintuplets box sets, number 1 and number 2. Each box set came with 2 posters that I have right on top of the 2 box sets right here. I love QQ. There's not many romance series that I'll actually buy the manga for, but QQ is an exception because I really like QQ. I love the story, I love the girls in it. I would recommend QQ if you like romance. It's not the best thing ever, honestly. I mean, it does have some problems, like the ending really wasn't amazing and left a lot of people disappointed. I thought it was okay. It's just not as good as it could have been, is what I'll say. Right now over here we have volumes 1 to 6 of Gantz. This is by Hiroya Oku, the same guy who wrote Gantz, which I have the first volume of over here next to it, which is my second favorite manga series of all time, and Inuyashiki. I like Gantz. It's definitely his weakest of his big 3 works, but I liked it enough to pick it up. I really love his art. He draws sexy girls too. What more could you ask for? But nah, it's pretty fun. Like with Hiroya Oku's other works, it's very fast, action-paced stuff, and I really like it. It reminds me a lot of what Fujimoto did in Chainsaw Man, so I'm all for more Hiroya Oku stuff. Next to Gigant and Gantz, we have an H.P. Lovecraft manga here. It just has a collection of some of H.P. Lovecraft's short stories put in manga format. And right next to here we have volumes 1 and 2 of Versailles of the Dead. After like 4 years, we're finally getting volume 3 coming to the States. I don't know why it took so long, but once volume 3 comes, I'm probably going to actually start reading this series because it really intrigues me. I got these first 2 volumes in a discount bin because nobody was buying them. I looked at some of the art. I am very intrigued, but I wanted to wait until the rest of the series was out in the US to read it. And I can't really find scans of this stuff online, so it's a pretty obscure series. Down to my second shelf, which I like to call the JoJo shelf, and some Ava, we have here some Japanese volumes, the only Japanese volumes I have in this whole collection. We have volumes 1, 2, 4, 5, 28, and volume 1 of Steel Ball Run. JoJo is my favorite series of all time, and as someone who wants to learn some Japanese, to one day hopefully to visit the country, I bought some of the manga and I'm teaching myself hiragana. Been practicing for almost a month now. I don't think I'm gonna read any full volume from beginning to end anytime soon, but I will skim through some of this stuff, look at some panels, and be like, oh, so this is what they're saying, and I can pick up on some small words or small sentences that they say. So I hopefully can one day have an understanding where I could just read it all in Japanese like the original way it's intended. Hello, Gyro. Oh, everyone's fallen. I also really honestly love how these Japanese volume covers look. They are just so gorgeous to look at. Hardcover versions of JoJo up here look really nice, but the Japanese ones are just so gorgeous, man. If I take that off though, you can see we have in English all of Part 1 Phantom Blood, all of Part 2 Battle Tendency, all of Part 3 Stardust Crusaders, Volume 1 of Diamond is Unbreakable, and then Volume 1 of the Dust Spoke Rohan Kishibe spin-off that Araki made for Shonen Jump. I think Volume 2 actually just came out a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't been able to find it in stores anywhere yet. And we also have Araki's Manga Theory in Practice book, which is when he goes into detail about how he creates and writes manga. JoJo's, though, is my favorite series of all time. I think these are gorgeous releases, these hardcovers. I know the JoJoniums were only made for parts 1 to 3 in Japan, so that's why post part 3, part 4 onward, Viz is making still these beautiful, gorgeous hardcovers for future parts. I haven't gotten the rest of part 4 and part 5 because the name changes I feel get really bad after part 3 for a lot of the stands, but I'm probably just going to cave and get them eventually anyways because they just look gorgeous and I love having my favorite series. I would love to own it all. Next to JoJo, though, we have all of Evangelion, omnibuses 1 through 5 complete. I still haven't read this series yet. I want to, though. I looked at some of the art for the beginning and it looks gorgeous, but I want to get to it one day because I heard near the end it actually takes a different turn that the anime did. The manga has its own original thing, and I'm pretty much intrigued by that. Down here is the Berserk shelf. I am fully up to date on Berserk, having volumes 1 all the way to 41 up here, as well as the Berserk guidebook. Now, Berserk used to be one of my favorite series of all time for manga. I would still actually say that volumes 1 to 16 of Berserk is some of the best fiction ever written in manga to this date, but past 16 onward to present Berserk, I feel it just kind of dips in quality a little bit. A lot of the characters that they introduce, it's not that I really dislike them, it's just more so I don't like how they're used. Even Puck, who we've met since Volume 1, is now just used as a gag character. The term Chestnut Puck is even used amongst the community to confirm, like to talk about the community's disdain for the character. And it's a shame because during the Lost Children arc, which is like these few volumes here, he's amazing during it. It's just a shame seeing what he's been reduced to, but yeah, let me pull off the newest volume here, volume 41 of Berserk, the last volume that Miura contributed on until, unfortunately, he passed last year in the spring. So everything that releases after this is going to be not Miura anymore. I've been reading online the new chapters that Miura hasn't made himself. I still think so far it's actually better than a lot of what has been coming out in the past few years, but we'll see where it goes. I'm very curious to see how long this is going to continue. I feel like we're going to have like one more arc of the series and then that'll be it. I also have up here Miura's one-shot Gigantomaxia. It's okay, honestly nothing too special, but hey, it's Miura, it has really good artwork. I would obviously recommend it if you like Berserk, so I would check it out. And, oh, forgot to mention, I also have the official Berserk guidebook, which honestly has one of my favorite covers for any Berserk volume, the frickin' guidebook with the whole cast here. I really like it. If we were to go to my bottom shelf here, we really don't have much manga on here, but I'll be talking about my graphic novels too. We have volumes 1 through 5, the omnibuses of Blade of the Immortal. This is another series I still need to read. I have not read this series yet. I heard it's really good. I heard it's a lot more fantasy-esque than something like Vagabond, which is pretty grounded in reality for the most part, but I still hear Blade of the Immortal is excellent. If we were to look here at my graphic novels, we have Watchmen, V for Vendetta, Invincible 1 through 3, the big compendiums complete, that's the whole series. I really do want to read Invincible because I really like the show, but I just have not gotten around to it. But I heard the comic just gets absolutely wild post Amazon Season 1 content. So I really do want to pick up and read this entire thing. We also have we also have the compendiums 1 to 3 of The Walking Dead. I really like the show, but I dropped it at season 6 because I just found it to be really repetitive, but the comic is pretty good. I've read all 3 of these compendiums years ago when I was still into the show, and I liked it. It's pretty good. It's actually by the same guy who made Invincible, so I think I might just like his style and his storytelling. We also have next to here Saga. This is everything that's released right now because I know the author is on hiatus. I heard that this series is one of the best series that you can have for like a graphic novel. I need to delve into it. What's kind of putting me off is that it is on hiatus, but I hear from people that you should just still get into it even though it is on hiatus. I mean, I got into Vagabond, so I really should give this a shot eventually. Next to that, we have my favorite comic book ever, The Killing Joke. Highly, highly, highly recommend. Even if you aren't the biggest Batman fan, you really don't need to know much beforehand of this other than you need to know who Batman is, the Joker is, and who Batgirl is. And I also have The Killing Joke Noir, which is just a black and white version. I have The Art of Cuphead next to that. And I have The Rohan at the Louvre. Ooh! Ah! The Rohan at the Louvre manga. I know you can actually buy this at the Louvre, which is pretty cool. This is definitely not canon, which, like, the details that are in this story, it just really automatically makes it not canon, because it rewrites, like, Rohan's past, but it's a pretty cool read. Nothing too crazy, but really, really good for a JoJo fan, I'll just say that. Starting on the second bookshelf here, hello Michael, still there, looking beautiful as always. We have my horror books, so it's all Junji Ito right here on the top of this shelf. We have from him Gyo, Tomie, Uzumaki, Fragments of Horror, Shiver, and Smashed. And next to him, we have the complete Tales of H.P. Lovecraft, which contains a crap ton of H.P. Lovecraft short horror stories. So, if I were to say what my favorite work from Junji Ito that I've read, it would definitely be Uzumaki. Uzumaki is also the first manga I actually ever purchased and read, like physically, and that's what started like this whole collecting craze. That was around, I think, 5 years ago, possibly. But yeah, it all started with Uzumaki for manga. Junji Ito, for me, I feel, as being someone who really craves horror in like the manga and anime medium and finding it kind of tough to find effective, creepy, scary horror, Junji Ito is able to have stories like Uzumaki and short stories that are found in Shiver, Smash, and Fragments of Horror that are really effective at making you creeped out and grossed out at the same time. His artwork is just really disgusting at times, but it's beautifully disgusting. So, I mean, if I were to recommend one work from his, I would say Uzumaki, and if I were to recommend a second, it would be Tomie. I think these two are like his highlights. Gyo is just really stupid, like fun, and that's why I like it, but I would recommend Uzumaki, definitely. Down here, we have some Inio Asano works. So we have Downfall, which I honestly really like. It's definitely my favorite, like, one-shot, I guess you would call it, from Inio Asano. I found some of the messaging in here and the storytelling to be kind of relatable to how the main character was feeling. I feel, too, that this work is also representative of Inio Asano in some kind of way, about being, like, someone creating art of their own and then thinking these things about it. I really do think Inio Asano is trying to say something about his own self here, but I really enjoyed Downfall. I know a lot of people don't hold it to as high of a regard as I do, but I personally really liked it. Next to this, we have one of my favorite manga series of all time, Goodnight Punpun, volumes 1 to 7 complete. Oh man, do I love this series. This series, I could talk about this series, but it would make the video go way too long. All I gotta say is I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. I would say read this in a good state of mind. If you get really easily depressed or you can't handle some certain themes like depression, suicide, etc., etc., maybe don't check out this series, but I just think it is an amazing coming-of-age story. I've never seen in any other kind of medium that reflects my thought process on certain things like I did in here, where Punpun as a little kid overthinks stuff to the extreme, and that's what I used to do a lot when I was in middle school and high school, and I'll still do from time to time. I've never captured it as perfect as I did when reading this manga, so this manga means a lot to me. The ending is just super depressing, and it's honestly amazing. Next to that, though, we have Solanin by Inio Asano. Honestly, wasn't as crazy about Solanin as the other two series that I just mentioned. I think Solanin is pretty good, But if you were to ask me, I would definitely recommend Downfall and Goodnight Pun Pun over Soladin. It's a fine story, I'd say. It's nothing I can really speak negative about, other than I just enjoyed his other stuff more. Over here we have some Death Note works. We have the Death Note short stories, which contains a lot of one-shots and just extra chapters that the author wrote for like the Death Note universe. Then we have Death Note in the Black editions, volumes 1 to 6 complete. I was debating on either getting these or the original trade paperbacks, but I got the Black editions because I really like how they look, and they have some colored pages, which are nice. Then we have the Death Note Another Note, the Los Angeles BB Murder Cases novel. I love this novel so much. It is so freaking good. If you're a Death Note fan, you have to read this. This is by the same dude who wrote the Monogatari novels. He just does an excellent job going into the BB Murder Cases story that L mentions in the manga and the anime. A prequel to Death Note, obviously there's no Death Notes involved in here, but it's just such a good story. I highly, 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 highly recommend it. Even if you aren't the biggest fan of reading novels, just read it. I really do recommend it. It is so good. Next to that, we have volumes 1 to 2 of Fist in the North Star. I haven't read this series yet. A lot of people tell me I would love it because I actually have a really unpopular opinion that Phantom Blood is my favorite JoJo part. And I love Jonathan Joestar and I love Hamon, and people tell me all the time that I have to read Fist of the North Star because I would love it, be right up my alley. I'm probably gonna start this series to be my new manga that I'll read once I finish some other series. Gonna go down here, we have volumes 1 to 10 of Inuyashiki complete. Another Hiroya Oku work that I mentioned earlier when looking at Gigant and my single volume of Gantz. Crazy Hiroya Oku action, what else could you ask for? But I really like Inuyashiki. I like how there's not as much nudity as in Gantz. I love how he just toned that back a lot and just focused a lot more on the insanity, the sci-fi, and the action, because it worked. It really worked. Here we have some one-shots. We have Satoshi Kon's Opus, which unfortunately he never finished. It's a very trippy manga though. I would highly recommend it. It's about a mangaka who gets sucked into his own story, and he's interacting with his characters. They find out that they're getting killed off and they're pissed off at him. They find out that it's all just for entertainment that they're in, and start losing their minds. I really do wish he could have finished it, but unfortunately Satoshi Kon did pass too soon. What we have here is very good. I still say it would be definitely worth reading. Next to that we have Fujimoto's one-shot Look Back, amazing one-shot. I'm personally a bigger fan of Goodbye Eri, but Look Back is still so good on its own. Like Downfall by Inio Asano, I feel Look Back is a reflection on Fujimoto's own life working in the manga industry and being a mangaka, and like Downfall again, it's kind of depressing if you look at it from that angle, but it's just so good. And it kind of goes into insight about like why Fujimoto is doing what he is doing. Next to that, we have the first volume of Fire Punch, another Fujimoto manga. Have not started this yet. I wanted to collect it all, but the rest of the series was very tough to find at the time. I don't know if that's still the case, but that was like a year and a half ago. So I'm hoping to get the rest of Fire Punch one day. I just was trying to, couldn't find anywhere, moved on to other things. We have the first volume of Yokohama. When I found out this was getting released in English, I was so happy. I haven't read this manga in full, but I've read some chapters and some artwork of it that I've seen on the internet, and it just seems so relaxing and right up my alley. I cannot wait to get into it. I am really hyped to get into this, and I say this and Fist in the North Star are the two ones that I'm very excited to start. We have the first volume of Vinland Saga. I haven't started this. I honestly really don't have much motivation right now to read it. I hear all good things about Vinland Saga. I know it's in like the top 3 for seinen, with Vagabond, Berserk, and Vinland Saga taking the top 3 spots. But I honestly just haven't had the motivation to collect the rest of the series and start it, but I will one day. Next to that, we have volumes 1 to 5 of Grand Blue Dreaming. I hear it's a very funny manga series, and I really do like the artwork that's used for like the covers, and I flipped through some pages and I like how like the characters are drawn. I'm gonna start it also one day. Don't really have the much motivation to right now. I got these 5 because it was on a sale for Right Stuff like a couple years ago, so I will start it one day, but I have not read it yet. Next to that, we have the first volume of Monster. This is the only Naoki Urasawa volume that I own. I haven't read it, but this is going to be the first series I do start from him. I don't know when I'll start it. My one friend who watched the anime always tells me, please, please, please read Monster. But I promise you, man, if you're watching this part, I will get to it eventually. Next to Monster over here, we have the Perfect Blue novels, we have Complete Metamorphosis, and we have Awaken from a Dream. Complete Metamorphosis is what the movie is based off of, the Satoshi Kon animated one, and then Awaken from a Dream is like side stories that take place in the Perfect Blue universe. I remember a few years ago when I got these two at a con, I read the first short story that's in Awaken from a Dream, and it was really weird, like really weird. I don't know when I will continue reading the rest of these, and I want to read the original Perfect Blue novel one day, but like I've mentioned for a lot of stuff that's on this shelf, it's just in the backlog. You can like basically see from like this shelf here, like a lot of this stuff is just like kind of low priority, but it's all stuff that I still am interested in. Then we have some pretty rare manga. We have volumes 1 and 3 of Aria the Masterpiece editions. Right Stuff only released this series, I'm pretty sure, twice. I was able to get these two on the second batch when they were getting re-released and like republished, and Right Stuff kept saying, hey, this is the last time that you're going to be able to get these series. But I love the anime for it. It's just so relaxing. I wanted to get the manga because it was very hard to find before they made these Masterpiece editions. I don't even know if the full thing was translated. I'm not fully sure. But I want to get the rest of it. I know there's 7 of them, but they are very expensive. But I'm holding on to these for the time being because they're just so pretty. Next to that, we have To Live Is to Die, a Metallica book about the best bassist that has ever existed in a metal band. Rest in peace, Cliff. Taken too soon. If you don't know Metallica, please check him out and check out Cliff Burton. He's a legend. And next to that, we have the Boogie Pop Omnibus that contains the first 3 light novel volumes. I am actually almost done the first volume in this omnibus. I watched Boogie Pop Phantom in the fall this year, and I freaking loved it. I found out that it's like a sequel to the first light novel volume. So I read it, and a lot more stuff is making sense reading this volume now. It's a lot more is clicking from this volume after watching Phantom. Like, it's like, oh, okay, so that makes sense. Like, this is who Saitome is, and this is what he did with, like, Manticore. And it just makes sense. But I'm really excited to read the rest of it because I just really like the eerie and, like, cold feel of the Boogie Pop world. But I'm very excited to continue it. On the bottom shelf here, we have volumes 1 through 11, just missing Visbig 12 of Vagabond. As you can see from my bookmark here, I am a little over halfway through volume 9. I'm honestly just taking my time with this series. Vagabond, for me, is very weird because there's parts of it that I really love, and there's other parts of it I just kind of find boring personally. The artwork is easily the best artwork for any manga I have ever read, and I will still stand by that. It's just beautiful to look at. The amount of detail that Takahiko Inoue puts into every page is just gorgeous. I do like Musashi a lot. I love some of the arcs that did happen. My favorite being so far the Shinshido Baiken arc. I really did like that one. And Sasaki Kojiro's arc when he was introduced as a baby to fully growing up and leaving his parental father, like the one who raised him, behind, I thought was really good too. Vagabond, for me personally, it has some scenes of it that are kind of boring, but it also has some scenes that are very, very, very well done. I will say these past 2 volumes have been very, very good. I am really liking what is in here. And then last but not least, we have one more Inio Asano book. I don't keep it with the others because it's big and it's a hardcover, and it's Nichigahara Holograph. I actually got this at a Barnes & Noble sale that happened a couple weeks ago. That was basically half off of hardcover books. So I got this and the 2 volumes of Fist of the North Star that I showed earlier. So I've read all the other Asano works that I own in my collection besides this one, so I'll probably read this one soon too. Thank you guys for watching this year's manga collection, and I'll see you guys next year. Have a great new year.